On Wednesday, April 26, 2006, in Santa Paula, California, a fire destroyed a southern portion of the historic Glen Tavern Inn. According to the assistant fire chief at that time, Kevin Fieldas, although the cause was determined to be accidental, what exactly caused the fire remains undetermined. The previous day, Tracy Shriver made the journey north from Los Angeles to the tranquil town of Santa Paula to visit her childhood friend, Lisa McKinley. Lisa and her new husband Trevor had recently acquired farmland off of the historic 150 highway in pursuit of a more peaceful way of life. Tracy and Lisa had been roommates for 3 years in Los Angeles after relocating from Antelope Valley to attend the Fashion Institute. But 9 months prior, Lisa got married and moved out. Little did Tracy know that this trip would have a lasting impact, leading her to seek years of therapy to come to terms with what unfolded. Tracy's trip to Santa Paula was off to a rocky start as she got stuck in traffic on the 5 freeway. Since she was running late, the friends changed plans and agreed to meet first for dinner and drinks at El Pescador, a local Mexican restaurant. After dinner, Tracy would follow them back to their farmland property. However, Tracy was alarmed to find her friends already intoxicated upon her arrival, and her concern only grew during the meal. Despite her offer to drive them home, Lisa and Trevor insisted on driving themselves, arguing that the drive was a mere 3 miles on a single road. Reluctantly, Tracy followed them, but as they left the parking lot, she noticed that their headlights were off. Trying to alert them, Tracy honked and flashed her headlights, which drew the attention of a police officer. Trevor was subsequently arrested for driving under the influence, while Lisa was charged with assaulting the officer when she refused to leave the car. This unexpected turn of events forced Tracy to find alternative accommodation and cut short her visit with her friends. Tracy's search for a place to stay after the unfortunate incident with her friends led her to the Ocean Gateway Inn. However, much to her dismay, there were no rooms available. She was too tired to drive home and remembered driving past the Glen Tavern Inn, so she turned around and made her way there. Upon entering, Tracy was greeted by the friendly but distracted front desk associate, Mary, a woman with long gray hair in her 60s. As she followed Mary through the lobby, Tracy couldn't help but notice the unsettling atmosphere, which seemed to be stuck in the 1930s. As they walked past the hotel restaurant, Tracy noticed an oddly dressed couple dancing to old piano music. The man was dressed in cowboy attire, and the woman wore a long black dress with black hair cascading down her back. Despite the unusual scene, Tracy was grateful to have found a place to stay for the night. That night, however, Tracy struggled to fall asleep. The sounds of music and laughter from the restaurant and the hallway were keeping her up. When she attempted to call the front desk to complain, she found that the phone was dead. She decided to take another melatonin and finally fell asleep. However, just as soon as she fell asleep, she was jolted awake by an unexplained pressure on both sides of her mattress. She sat up in confusion, trying to make sense of what was happening. She put her hands on the indentations, and they slowly sprang back to the normal position. Despite feeling unnerved, Tracy tried to brush off the incident as a figment of her imagination and go back to sleep. However, she was soon awoken by loud static from the radio and the flickering of lights, which made her scream. As she tried to get out of bed and her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she felt paralyzed with fear. To her horror, the same couple from the restaurant appeared at the foot of her bed as apparitions. They were slow dancing, just as she had seen them earlier. She could hear phantom music. Then they evaporated into thin air. Tracy broke out into a cold sweat. Suddenly, flames burst through her window, and she sprang out of bed in a panic, desperate to escape the fire. But as she stepped into the hallway, she was taken aback by the state of disrepair. The walls were peeling, the floor was torn, and construction equipment littered the area. Tracy was confused and frightened, unsure of what was happening. As she made her way to the lobby, hoping to find some answers, she was dismayed to find it unrecognizable. Through the window, she saw a fire truck parked outside, which only added to her confusion. The time of day had changed. There was daylight, and she couldn't fathom how much time had passed. In a state of panic, she tried opening the door, but it was locked from the outside. She pounded on the door, hoping the firemen would hear her cries for help. It was a few excruciating minutes before they heard the pounding and broke down the door to rescue her. Tracy was questioned by the police about the fire, and to her surprise, the same officer who had taken her friends to jail recognized her and cited her for trespassing. She grew increasingly distressed as she explained she was a guest and had paid to stay the night there. However, the officer informed her that the Glen Tavern Inn had been closed for renovations since the previous year, and said he would charge her for breaking and entering if she didn't cooperate. The more she tried to explain what had happened, the more confused and disoriented she appeared to the authorities. In the end, they took her to the Vista Del Mar Mental Hospital, where she was involuntarily detained for 72 hours under Section 5150 of the California Welfare and Institutions Code, as they believed she was experiencing a mental health crisis. Tracy felt helpless and alone, unable to convince anyone that what she had experienced was real. After 3 long days, Tracy's family finally arrived at the hospital to pick her up. They were shocked by her condition when they saw her. Tracy was trembling, muttering incoherently to herself, and barely seemed present. Despite their best efforts to console her, she remained inconsolable, obsessing over the Glen Tavern Inn and the apparitions she had seen. According to its own website, the Glen Tavern Inn is widely believed to be haunted. The inn was originally built in 1911. During the Prohibition era, the hotel operated as a speakeasy and casino. According to reports dating back to 1994 from the Los Angeles Times, one of the ghosts is said to resemble Buffalo Bill, while another is a long-dead perfume saleswoman. Local newspapers and accounts suggest that the Glen Tavern Inn is a hotbed for ghostly activity. The VC Reporter mentions the ghost of Calvin, a cowboy actor from the silent film era who was reportedly shot in the 1920s after being caught cheating at cards. This account has been substantiated by the discovery of a cowboy hat with a bullet hole found inside a wall during renovations. According to another account, the night staff once witnessed the lobby filled with dancing figures dressed in the styles of the early 20th century, accompanied by phantom music. Was Tracy's experience at the Glen Tavern Inn a mere hallucination, or something more profound? Who was Mary, the woman she paid the night before? And how did authorities determine the fire to be accidental without identifying a cause? According to Lisa, who has since divorced Trevor, the last she heard about Tracy was concerning. Tracy's behavior had deteriorated, leading her to move back in with her parents. She exhibited erratic behavior, including severe sleep deprivation and refusal to eat, which left her family struggling to support her. Unfortunately, since the haunting experience at the Glen Tavern Inn, Tracy's family has been tight-lipped about her well-being and current whereabouts, leaving the details of her life shrouded in mystery.